Hello everyone. The nature of this video came as a suggestion from my wife. She thought it'd be a good idea to create a video showing how to go out to a third-party website, maybe see a pattern there you like, and acquire that pattern and actually install it in the QCT4. So I'm going to attempt to do that in this video. Um, One of the websites she wants to obtain some patterns from is a site called My Creative Stitches. And so I've got my Firefox browser open. I'm going to open that up, and very conveniently I've gone to mycreativestitches.net. We're going to get a couple patterns from this location. So the patterns she wants are $5 patterns. So I probably should point out that I'm actually logged in right now. I've created an account. When you come to the website the first time, it'll say sign in or create account. All these websites work a little differently, but to me, it works best if you create an account and set it up. This gives you access to anything you've ever purchased, which might come in handy in the future. So I'm already signed in as my account, and the pattern she wants a $5 pattern. So I'm going to click on $5 patterns and see that we got all the patterns that are basically for sale right now. And the two that Janet wants is one called Rip Curl. I'm looking for, here it is, Rip Curl. This one right here. If I want to look at it in detail, this particular website lets me do a quick view and lets me see kind of what the pattern looks like, as well as how it fits into like a full, full quilt pattern. I want to purchase it, so I'm going to add it to my cart. Okay, so I've got this in my cart, $5. I want to continue shopping. This isn't the only one she wants. She also wants something called Creeper Edge to Edge, which is actually, I believe it's this one down here, Virginia Creeper Edge to Edge. Again, I could add it to the cart right now, or I can just do quick view, make sure it's what I want. And again, this looks like pretty much what I'm looking for. Add that to my cart. Okay, so now I've got this added to my cart as well. At this point, I think I'm ready to check out. So this website gives me multiple items to check out, so I'm just going to proceed to checkout. This should hopefully give me ability, if you bought stuff at Amazon and stuff, it's pretty much the same thing. Here's my order summary. I want the Rip Curl Edge to Edge and Virginia Creeper. There is no shipping, simply because this is going to get downloaded once I make the purchase. Then I am going to, there's no tax. Grand total is going to be $10. So at this point, as much as you all probably want to see my wife's credit card number, I'm going to stop the video here and purchase it. And then once the purchase is complete, we'll continue on with what happens next. So hang tight. I'm back. Another purchase has been made. Says thank you. I've got an order number. I'll probably get an email telling me the purchase has occurred. I spent my $10. But now I actually want to get copies of the two patterns that I purchased. So it tells me that I can click on the links on this page or logging into my account at any time. That's really why I created the account in the first place. If something happens and I lose sight of what I've downloaded, I can always come back here later and obtain it. Once you've purchased it, you've purchased it for forever. There's no expiration. And most of these other websites work about the same. You'll see that there's a few other websites my wife's purchased stuff from, and it's got a very similar setup. But now if you take a look, I have here in my little hands what looks to be like a little cheap piece of plastic, when in reality, it is one of these happy little thumb drives. We're using this to keep up with everything, all the patterns that Janet has purchased. So it's kind of the master copy. She can walk this and put it into her QCT4 tablet and load it in that way. I'm working off of a laptop right now, and it's recommended when you make your purchases, use a a non-tablet computer. Use your laptop, use a desk computer, whatever you have, but don't store it on the tablet. You always want to keep it in a separate location, again, just for redundancy. If something happens to it, you've also got a copy sitting on another computer. So in my case, it's going to be sitting on a computer, and it's going to be sitting on this thumb drive. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to insert it into the laptop I'm working off of. And you'll see basically what I've got set up on this thumb drive is I've set it up such that every organization that Janet has purchased something from, My Creative Stitches, she also purchased from Urban Elements and Wasatch Quilting. We kind of keep them all straight, and you'll see that within each directory, I set the name of the pattern. In this case, from Wasatch, she's only purchased one. From Urban Elements, she's purchased quite a few. I've got them all noted here. And she's already gotten one from My Creative Stitches. She purchased Destiny. We're going to actually add a few more things to this. So going back to I'm going to go back to the website here, My Creative Stitches, I'm going to go to Downloads. And I'm going to start with the Virginia Creeper. So I'm going to click on Go to Downloads. Everything that's in here that you purchase will get downloaded in something called a zip file. Basically, it is a file of files, if that makes any sense. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. You only really need a couple of files for what you're going to use for the QCT4. But since when you buy these things, you can install this almost anywhere of all the different quilting packages that are available. And what you want is the ability to do this for the QCT4. So it gives you everything. So I'm just going to click on Virginia Creeper E2E Zip. It wants to know if I want to save it or not. And I'm going to say I want to save this file. And we'll see how we work with it in a moment. So I'm going to say save. I'll click OK. I wanted to go to, if you remember that drive, my little USB drive was an E drive. And within that, it was My Creative Stitches. I'm going to click on My Creative Stitches. I'm going to right click with my computer mouse and say new. I'm going to create a new folder. Again, I create a new folder for every individual pattern that Janet purchases. So I'm going to click folder and I'm going to name it the name of the pattern. And this pattern is called Virginia Creeper. And I just hit enter and it's got a folder called Virginia Creeper. I'm going to double click that and here I want to save Virginia Creeper E2E zip to this Virginia Creeper folder on this little flash drive. So I'm going to click save. Okay, so now if I take a look at I'm going to go back to the little zip drive, My Creative Stitches, you'll see I've got Virginia Creeper, and within there is this funky little zip file. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the same level. I'm also going to go back to the website now, and I got to figure out how to get there. I should have, let's see, I can't go back. But I have another directory. So I go back to this checkout. Again, you almost have to kind of navigate these things a little bit. They all work a little different. I created a separate tab when I clicked on the Virginia Creeper. So now I'm going to click on the Rip Curl download. I'll click that. And you'll see it created another tab in my browser for Rip Curl. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to click it. I'm going to say Save File. I want to make sure I put it in the right location, so I'm going to go up a level in my folder here. I want to make sure I'm back at my Creative Stitches on my little USB drive thingy. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do another new folder, and this one is called Rip Curl. Kind of seeing the pattern here? Creates the folder. I'm going to double click. I'm going to hit save. And now I've got Rip Curl saved to my Creative Stitches as well. So if I click back to the USB drive again, I've got Rip Curl, and within there I've got my zip file. Okay, so all I've done at this point, I've created 2 zip files. I purchased 2 patterns. I've got 2 zip files on my little zip drive. Now I want to talk a little bit about, well, what exactly is in this zip file. So as long as I'm at Rip Curl, I'm going to do this right now. If I double click on this, you'll see that it gives you a whole bunch of file names. If I just double click, it lists out a whole bunch of files. Every one of these files is a format that can be used to install into the QCT4 software. Everything's pretty much got the same name except a little funky extension on the end is a little different for everything. Here's what's recommended. I've done this a few different ways, but what QCT recommends is that you take the file that's got the QLI extension. You want to take this file, and this is the one that you ultimately want to use for the QCT4. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this, and kind of the way I'm going to do this, if I right-click on it, I'm going to say copy. I just want to pull this file out of this little zip file. In fact, let me back up. I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to click this, and if I hold my CTRL key down on my keyboard and click on this file as well, the PDF is actually a picture of what the file looks like. If you look at the inside of the QLI, it's going to look like gibberish. It's going to look like a bunch of numbers and letters and makes no sense. But the PDF is actually your actual Adobe print file of what the pattern looks like. So I'm going to right click and do copy. Then I'm going to go back up to the Rip Curl directory where my zip file is. And then I'm going to do paste. And so what I have in here then basically is the zip file that I started with, and the two files that I pulled out, the QLI and the PDF. So if I double click on the PDF, bear with me a moment, this again shows what I've purchased. So I've always got in this file two things. I'm going to close this down, close the PDF. I've got the picture of it. I've got the QLI that the QCT4 is going to want. And then I've got the zip file that all came from. I keep it all in one nice, neat location so that it's all there should I ever need to reference it in the future. Okay, so just to repeat, we're going to do the same thing again with the other one we purchased, the Virginia Creeper. Again, I'm going to double click on Virginia Creeper. There's my zip file. Going to double click the zip file. And let me just stretch this. Sometimes the file names you have to kind of drag the little bar over here so you can see the name. Same type of thing. I'm going to click on QLI, hit the CTRL button, click the PDF, right click, click on copy, and then go back up to the Virginia Creeper main directory, do paste, and now I've got within the Virginia Creeper my original zip, the QLI, and if I double click the PDF, I've got the image of what the pattern looks like. Make sense so far? Okay. Now we've gone through a lot of effort. Now we need to kind of get to the meat of the issue. How do we get this pattern into the QCT4? Now, what would normally happen is I would take the little zip drive I plugged into my computer. I would take it out, take it downstairs. I would plug it into the QCT4 tablet and basically fire up the software and load it in. Just to save time, I'm kind of cheating a little bit here. What I have on my laptop right now is the QCT4 software. In fact, I've already got it open. I'm going to open it up. This is going to be exactly what you have on your tablet right now. The only difference being that it's not actually connected to the sewing machine. Doesn't matter for what I'm going to show you. You still click on the same keystrokes that you did previous that you're going to do at the QCT4. I'm just kind of simulating it here on my laptop so you can see the steps. So basically now, I want to take the two patterns I just purchased and load them into QCT4. So I'm going to click on the pantograph. Click on that. That's launching the panel stacker. Okay, so now I've got basically, this is the screen I would normally be at where I would select the pattern. I want to quilt something. All the way in the top right corner, there's a link called plugins. I'm going to click on plugins. Okay, and it gives me an option here. You'll see it gives me an option of either batch import or export. I want to batch import, and this is very convenient because I want to import two patterns. So that the batch import means I want to do more than once. Now, if you only have one pattern, you can still do this. It's not a problem. But with the batch import, you can import multiple patterns at once. So I'm going to click on that. Now it's telling me what is it do I want to import? Okay, as you recall, this is sitting on that little thumb drive that is plugged into what would be my tablet that's plugged into my, that's on top of my QNIC. If I click on New Drive, you're going to see, now this is, what you want to do is click on whichever one of these has got the QCT4 on it. Now, you probably saw that I was using E, USB-E. E is the actual name that it is on my laptop, so I'm going to click on E. This may be a different letter on your tablet. In fact, what's very likely going to be, you'll probably only see two of these on the tablet. C is kind of where the software is loaded. D is probably going to be your QCT. It's going to be a little thumb drive. So I can't do that here for me. That's a CD-ROM, so that's not going to be what I want. But if I click on E, you'll see that I've got here the directories that we were playing with earlier. My Creative Stitches, Wasatch Quilting, and Urban Elements. You may see some extra stuff here. Don't worry about that. It's got nothing to do with what we're doing. But I want to work with my Creative Stitches. So I'm going to click on that. And you remember, here are the two things that I installed on that little zip drive, Rip Curl and Virginia Creeper. Let's go to Rip Curl. I'll double click on that. And there's my QLI. Now remember, the QLI really doesn't look like anything. That's why you don't see a picture here. It's a series of letters and numbers, but it's basically something that the QCT4 is going to understand. So I'm going to do a couple things. Because I'm importing, I take that back. I'm just going to click this one by itself first. I'm going to click on File. You'll see it kind of takes that funky name with the QLI extension and enters it into this field. Then I'm going to click on Import. You're going to get kind of a weird message that says, it happens real quickly, your imported patterns are in the Patterns Batch folder. Be sure to optimize them in PatternCAD. We'll talk about that in a second. So I'll click OK. So I've imported, would I like to import more patterns? Yes, I would. So I'm going to click yes. Now I want to go to another location. So the way you kind of navigate this here, I'm in Rip Curl, my Creative Stitches. If you hit the up arrow, I go back to the folder that had my 3 patterns. I'm now going to click on Virginia Creeper, double click it actually. Same thing, select the file and import. And same thing, your imported patterns are in the patterns batch folder. Be sure to optimize them in PatternCAD. All right, we'll click OK. Would you like to import anymore? No, I'm going to stop right here. Now, one thing, I'm just going to go back to plugins for just a quick second. I just want to show you something real quick, and then I'm going to exit out. You recall when I was importing, I almost kind of clicked on, but really didn't click on multi. That's kind of the feature of the batch import. If I had multiple files sitting in this same folder, I could have clicked multi and selected multiple ones at the same time, and they would have imported all at once. I'm not sure if I could have done that. The fact that I was in 2 different folders. I was in my Rip Curl folder, and that had another pattern in a separate folder called Virginia Creeper. You might be able to save a step if you do multi, but either way, we've gone through the steps and imported the 2 patterns at once. And usually saw it's a very quick process. So I'm going to click cancel. Now we need to see, well, what happened? So what? I saw a bunch of stuff on the screen. What's the deal? If I go now, let's say I want to quilt something now. I want to quilt with one of those 2 patterns. So I'm going to click on at the top here, select pattern, and you'll see all the patterns that are here. It talked about a batch file. So if I click on the word patterns, it's going to take me to another set of directories that are here, and one of those directories is called batch. If I click on batch, there are my 2 patterns, my Rip Curl edge to edge and my Virginia Creeper edge to edge. Note that these are both, you can see them now. The system actually changed a little funky file from QLI to GPF. GPF is what the QCT4 wants to see. And since it knows what a QLI is, that whole import process turned that into GPF. So now we've got the files in a format that, the QCT4 can use. Now at this point, I can select any one of these and I can start quilting with them. I can click on Rip Curl Edge to Edge and open it. And there I am. And it talked about, you lay the thing out like you normally would with the software. You can set the patterns, and then you go into optimize and all that stuff. What I'm going to do instead, I'm just going to go back to home because I don't want to save my design. I do want to do a little bit of organizational cleanup that may come in handy just to keep everything straight. This is how my wife tends to do it on her machine. So I'm going to go back to select pattern, and I'm still in the batch folder here. So here are my 2 patterns. What I want to do is I want to keep up with everything I've purchased and keep it nice and neat within the QCT4, just like I did with my little zip drive that I created earlier. And so I'm going to go into this file here called Pantos. Pantos comes with it. This is created automatically. You don't have to create it. It's already there. I'm going to go in, double click, and then I'm going to click New. And you might be able to guess what I'm about to do here. I'm going to do New. I'm going to do a folder name called My Creative Stitches. I can spell STI, I can spell it. Okay, so my folder name is called My Creative Stitches. And if I were following this exactly the way that it is down on my wife's machine down in the basement, she's also got other folders here for Wasatch and for Urban Elements. In this case, this is how I'm starting from scratch. So I've created this folder. At the moment, it's empty. There's nothing in it. We're going to change that in a second. So I'm going to hit the up arrow. This takes me back to the directory I just created. We'll go up one more into Pantos, and I'm going to go to batch. I'm going to go back into batch where these 2 files are. I am then going to hit multi. I'll show you how that works, and select the Rip Curl and the Virginia Creeper so that they're both selected. I want to keep my batch directory nice and neat. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut these 2. So it's going to physically remove them from the directory. Do I want to cut these files? Yes. So they're gone, but have no fear. I go up a level, back to Pantos, back to My Creative Stitches. Now I click paste. There they are. So now I've kept track of, I can see the 2 patterns I've purchased. I know they came from My Creative Stitches. They're in that directory. I can see the names I used. And so these are the names I'm going to use going forward. Now, you don't have to do any of this that I just did. If you wanted to, if I go back up a level and go up a level, and basically, if I went right to the directory where everything was in the first place, continuous line. That's where it was. I could have just as easily pasted and not even bother with pantos. Just cut them and pasted them into continuous line and just had them all in the same with all the patterns all at once. Entirely up to you. Doesn't make any difference to the QCT4, but at the same time, it does show kind of a nice, neat way of. To me, it's logical. I know where I bought stuff, where I bought it from. If I have issues with patterns in the future, I know that that particular pattern came from either My Creative Stitches, or it came from Wasatch, or it came from Urban Elements. It just helps me organize it. So anyway, I'm going to select Virginia Creeper, and I'm going to go off and quilt now. So you think. So I hope this all made sense. You know where to find us if you have any questions, and thank you for your time. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.